I'm Pietro Maggi. I work in this software and solution team across EMEA. I'm based in Milan, so this session is again in English or in Italian, as you wish. So we talked about already multiple times about this need to have this transition to something new, the end of an era, the end of a legacy, and we need to change something. Coming from Italy, I even take a different perspective, because sometimes we talk, especially in UK, in US, you listen a lot about end of support in 2020 for Windows Embedded Handheld, end of support in 2021 for Windows C. Well, in reality, the device will keep working. I know that in Italy, there are still those devices using some warehouses, they are still working. The problem for us is that we cannot innovate on this operating system. There is no IPv6 on this operating system. There is no security feature like TLS 1.2 that in some companies are mandatory nowadays. So there is really no option to have these features available on this operating system. And there is no support on the newest chipset. So if you want to have newer technology on the device or even better battery life, the only option is really to look somewhere else. And where you can get really some new performance, some new productivity increase is really on the ease of use of these devices. And moving to something like Android for us is really the best option at this moment. And as Andy said, we are really betting the company on this Android migration. And we can see what we have done in the last few years. So this was our portfolio in 2013 with some Android devices, 3 Android devices. The 81 was our entrance in the market, in the Android market. Then we started with a one-only device with MC40 and the TC55. This was our entire portfolio that was still mainly on Windows Embedded Handheld and Windows C. Moving forward to 2017, the current portfolio. So these are all Android devices, or available only with Android, or available with Windows Mobile or Windows like the tablet and Android. So, and we are covering all the vertical market, field mobility, warehouse, retail, healthcare. So we have the right device for every market. We are still supporting Windows Mobile, obviously. We have seen that is still more of the 50% of what we sell nowadays, but we are working for the future. And for us, the future really is moving to Android. So, and it's not just about the hardware, but it's really to make sure that Android is able to support the use case. We work in this market for a long time. We know what the market need for, to work in the field. We have a very nice discussion with our end user, with our partners about what are the requirements. And we have seen that Android is a wonderful base on where we can build on top new features and the needed feature for our market. So usually Android is seen as a very user-friendly operating system. We needed to make it not only user-friendly, but IT-friendly, easy to manage, easy to lock down in some cases. And so we have created this new enterprise platform on top of the standard Android. So it's not a different version of Android, it's simply some additional features that initially were not available in Android. And nowadays, with the great collaboration we have with Google, we are working to see some of these features always introduced in new version of Android. So this is a work in progress with Google to have all the features that we think are needed by our market introduced in the standard platform. So, and this is a good thing for all the ecosystem, because in this case, you are not just relying on a proprietary feature coming from Zebra that can be even the market leader, but is just one of the vendor. If these features are available in the enterprise of Android, it's really better for all the market. So, and we branded this as the Mobility DNA. Mobility DNA, that is a set of features to make it easy to manage the device, to a set of tools to expedite the task, to make it easy for the user to work with a full touch device, moving from devices with the keyboard to a full touch device For the new employee, it's usually easier because they are not used to work with keyboard devices. For older employees, it's a bit strange because they always use it to have keyboard on these devices. But we made an effort to provide all the software capabilities on these devices to be able to work even better than in the past. So what is Mobility DNA? Mobility DNA is an ecosystem of software that we put on top of Android. So again, it's the standard Android with additional features. It's available on all the Zebra mobile devices, and it's built on top of the Android operating system. And it allows some enterprise capabilities that are just available in the latest version of Android, and were not available previously on older version of Android. Just to give you an idea, we started to build these Mobility DNA components back in Android 2.3 days on the ET1 and the MC40 over on Gingerbread. And one point that is very important is the security. The security is really a key component on this enterprise-focused Mobility DNA because it's really what the customer are asking us. Where is most of the discussion we have with customers across Europe in these days is around Android security. So this is a very strong focus, and is where we have done a lot of investment lately. You have probably seen an announcement around this Lifeguard for Android. We are talking about this later. It's really a program that we have on our devices nowadays, on all the newer devices, to be able to provide security updates on the device every 30 days. But Mobility DNA is a set of application, so business solution, is a set of tools, is a set of utilities that are available on Android. So for the application, we have the application for voice enabling the communication on the device. We are now no more included in the Motorola solution business. When we were Motorola solution, we couldn't touch the radio, the two-way radio business. Nowadays that we are in Zebra, we think that makes absolute sense to use a single device to do data capture and voice communication. So you can walk around in a retail store. You don't need to have an additional device to do voice communication between the different employees. You can use the same device. And we built for this Workforce Connect that allows to be used like a mobile phone on top of your Wi-Fi network. TechSpeech Pro, it's our voice speaking solution for Android that we updated over the years and is now available for Android to maximize the productivity inside the warehouse. So you can work hands-free to do the picking and providing a very good productivity and very good error-free picking. And then we have a solution like SmartDex that is only relevant for the US market, but we are able to provide solution on top of the standard Android. And this, again, is linked to the fact that Android is an open source operating system and give us the flexibility to add this kind of functionality and to target the operating system to different vertical market, to different geometry of the device. Productivity tools. We have a set of tools that can be integrated in a solution. So you can build a solution and use part of these tools. Most of these are available free of charge on our devices. So you can use SimulScan to capture multiple barcode with a single scan of the imager. We made available on our device an enterprise keyboard to facilitate data entry with number, barcode, having a large barcode button on the display, and so on. Data Wedge is our solution to easily integrate inside your application a data entry capability. So you can control Data Wedge from your application with standard Android intents and get data back in the same way from Data Wedge without having the need to use an additional API from a third-party vendor. So you just use standard APIs. And then we have a swipe assist. You can have a virtual button on this display. So if you want to have the capability to easily activate the barcode scanner without having to interact with an hardware button, this could be a very good solution. And all-touch terminal emulation It's for all the customers that are using a terminal emulation on our devices. Moving to Android allow us to have a larger screen with full touch capabilities, and we built together with Ivanti this all-touch terminal emulation that can automatically translate most of the terminal emulation session into web pages that are much easier to interact, especially for the new employee, and can really speed up the training time for new employees to use a terminal emulation. So there is no more need to use function keys to interact with a terminal emulation session. You can have button on the screen that activate this function for you. And regarding the tools, these are the tools that we put in place to easily build and manage the device, manage application on the device. Stage Now, it's our solution to take a device from a box and put it into the field. So you can take a new device, create a Stage Now barcode on a PC with all the configuration that you want to have on the device. So you can set up the network, install application, lock down the device with a whitelist that enables only your application to run on the device. Generate this barcode, so you take a new device, read this barcode with Stage Now, and the device is automatically set up for you. So this is very powerful, and it's available for free. So this really helps to gain, to set up very quickly devices without incurring in a lot of cost. The EMM Toolkit is a software solution that we built for our EMM partner to enable them to control our devices and integrate with Stage Now. So easily you can build on EMM that support our EMM Toolkit, the configuration for your device with Stage Now, and then manage the device with this configuration with your SOTI, AirWatch, Mobile Iron solution, and so on. Enterprise Home Screen is a solution to lock down the device. So it's a new launcher that you can use to make available to your user only the application that you want for the user to use, and then you can log out with an administrator password and take full control of the device. Development tools, it's a set of SDK that we built over time for Java with the Android MDK and for C# for the Xamarin MDK to build application to use this additional feature. So if you want to take full control of the barcode scanner, there is a barcode API, or you want to manage the device, build your set of functionality inside the application to manage the device, lock down the device, or change some configuration, you can use our eMDK. Keep in mind that Android is an operating system that has been built for mobile phones, so a normal application cannot take full control of the operating system for security reasons. With our eMDK, we are bringing back some of these capabilities to the developers to be able, for example, to switch on and off the Wi-Fi radio, the wireless radio, or to be sure that an NFC is active without having the user to interact with the settings like you need to do on a normal Android application. If you have a web-based solution, Enterprise Browser is our industrial browser solution that can allow you to use the same technology, JavaScript and HTML code, to take full control of the device. And Enterprise Browser has the capability even to work with existing web application and inject additional code to control the barcode scanner without the need to change the application on the backend system. So especially if you work with a solution built on top of SAP that you cannot touch, or Oracle, where the customer don't want to touch anything because otherwise you need to call some consultant from Oracle and it's going to cost more than the entire project. We can modify the configuration on the Enterprise Browser on the device and inject the capability that are missing from the existing application on the backend. And on top of this, is last but not the least, is the mobility extension, MX, that is the underlying layer on top of what we built all the other capabilities. This mobility extension is something that we started to build in 2011 with the ET1, and it's something that we are evolving over time to the new capability of Android, and nowadays with the new capability of enterprise Android, MX is probably becoming a smaller layer because most of the capabilities of what we built over the years in MX are now starting to be available in the enterprise Android. So it is really about, we talk about how much is bigger the market share of Android in the consumer market. But for us, that is a good starting point for us. It's a consumer operating system. So over time, we have seen that we needed to add new capabilities to close this gap between what was available in the consumer operating system and what was needed for the enterprise market. So we think that we have another session on manageability where we are going deeper into what we added to the operating system over time and what we are doing now to transition to this new enterprise Android manageability capability. But I think that, so we are going to cover this later. Talking about the devices, I don't know if you, yeah, I probably let Mark do something.
He doesn't want to make sure I've just come on holiday, that's why. So, you've heard about all our tools and all our features, and the majority of what Pietro just went through. The good news is they're free. We've invested in them to make your life easier and to make it easier and quicker for you to deploy the devices. But what devices have we got in order to help you increase the productivity? And you've seen the stats around error reduction in typing, in productivity increase, and that's due to the fact that 80% of the world is currently using Android. So you take a device today and put it in your use case. The likelihood is the person who you're giving it to has already used either an Android or an iPhone. They understand the UI. They can pick it up, they can use it, and they can work. And if I think about training times, the stat is that when you gave someone a Windows mobile device, it would take them around 2 weeks to get used to it, to know how it worked, to understand how to use the stylus, to be able to input data accurately. We now see it's gone down to around 1 day for them to understand the application flow, to maybe do 20 rounds of implementing it and going through it. And so the improvement is dramatic. And even things such as changing the language on the device, so the user can use it in their own language. And Windows Mobile, again, you probably know, you had to have a specific version with the specific language. So if you change language, it was a nightmare, whereby now you can just simply choose an option and switch it to the location you want it to be. So from a device perspective, and we have some of these to show you, so you're more than welcome to look. The first device that we wanted to run through was what we call as part of the TC7X series. Now we launched this device around 2 years ago, and we did a hardware refresh last year to put a newer processor in, newer memory, a newer version of the OS to keep it up to date. The hardware is still the same, the casing, but it's got a new, improved inside. So this device is the most rugged in the market. We know the return rate, whereby damages and by failures is incredibly low with this unit due to its robustness. So if you have a use case where the guy is out in the field, he's in the rain, he's using it to maybe climb up ladders and things like that, this is probably the device for you. But we've not just only created a device that is rugged, we've also created a device which is future-proof. And what do I mean by making sure it's future-proof? Well, on the back, we thought about how can we make sure that if someone wants something new, we can add it. So if you've ever seen the back here, we have 10 pins, okay? And the 10 pins means that we can actually snap onto the back of it accessories that are specific to requirements that we get from our customers. So for instance, in 2018, we'll launch a product called Mobile Dimensioning, which allows you to dimension a parcel and get the measurements back on it. And that'll snap onto the back of the unit as an additional add-on. We're doing other things with communication protocols and collecting data. So again, if you have something specific, don't think because the device doesn't have it today, it can't do. We've added a way that we can add devices. So this device comes with Marshmallow out the box. So you probably know that's not the latest one today, right? You know, Andy just mentioned O was released. But we will allow this unit to go from Marshmallow. We'll release Nougat, likely to be the end of this year, probably November, December timeframe. So we'll have Nougat on there. And for anyone with a consumer phone, I would have a guess that in this room, probably less than half of you have a phone with Nougat on it. So that shows how quickly we are moving to get the latest update. And then we'll move it on to Oreo. Probably late 2018 would be my estimation. But does that mean that's the end of it? Well, we'll do our best endeavors to keep supporting the newest operating system based on what we're allowed to do. So from a software perspective, we are working with Qualcomm, who are the chip manufacturer in the device, and Google, to keep support, because we know customers want to have the latest and the greatest to get the best feature set. And we also know that we need to make sure it's easy to upgrade and update. So we're working on that, and we'll keep moving as soon as we can. This is our most deployed Android unit to date. We probably have over 200 to 300,000 of these devices out in the field. And in the majority of companies, most of the parcel carriers now are having these units to deliver their parcels. So I'm sure you'll see some of these soon, if you haven't already, which I'm hoping you've seen loads of them. And then next to it, it's slightly smaller, and some would say sexier brother. I would say that's what I am, right? The smaller one, right? You make your choice, right? So this device here is running exactly the same insides as this one, okay? So we're running exactly the same processor, the same memory, the same software. So the software for this is the same as this one, right? But it's in a smaller shell. So it's not as rugged, right? But what does that mean from a customer or a developer or an application perspective? It means if you write your application for this, the exact same software is on here, and it will work exactly the same as it will on here, okay? No change, no nothing. Work on here. Literally, you could copy and drop it on, and it'll work exactly the same. So that means if you have a cross workforce, that some of them need a super rugged device, and some of them actually work inside a shop, you can be comfortable that your same application can be tested and working on one, and it can easily transition onto another. And that's the model we're trying to do now as we move forward with devices. We want to make sure that if you've tested and validated and are happy that it works, when we release a new version, we'll make sure that the same application works. We won't remove any features. We won't make it redundant. It'll keep working and going forward. And as Thierry says, we have a team also to help to check and move forward. So this device, it has a 2D imager in it. No surprise there. It has all the features you'd expect. It can be an indoor or outdoor, the same as the TC7 series. And again, we're seeing a lot of these devices going into the retail stores, mainly because it's slimmer. As I say, it's a bit more sexy, right? If you're showing it to a customer. So we're seeing major retail stores taking this one. And again, I'm sure you'll start seeing them appearing across the region. A bit less sexy and a bit more manly, the old warehouse. So the warehouse represents the largest, surprisingly, you might find it surprising, but the largest set of Windows CE and mobile devices still out there. We know that only around 5% of the warehouse has transitioned. And why is that? Mainly because it works. I'm sure any of you who have a warehouse and run Windows devices today, you know it works, right? It's a green screen, you scan and go, right? But there are lots of opportunities that Android can give you to move it. Okay, it works, but can we make it better, right? And that's what we're here to do, right? We don't just want to send a device into a warehouse and it works exactly the same as it did before. We want to put it in and we see improvements and we see the next generation of the warehouse. So this device here, we call this the TC8000. This device we released probably around 18 months ago. And it's probably the first of its kind. Everybody says to me, what's this kind of gun on a stick? But it's more than just a gun on a stick, right? If you think of how a user uses their device today in the warehouse, it's likely they have a device with a scanner at the top, yep, and they look at the device, maybe pick 5 things, right? The green screen tells them, they hit F2, they scan, they look again, they scan, and they keep doing it, right? They walk around. What we've done here, and is the first of its kind, is we've actually moved where the scanner is. So the scanner has gone from on the top. So you see there's no scanner now, it's gone. We put it in the back here. And I've not turned it on, because otherwise I'll blind you. And it sits here in the back, and what does that mean? It means the user can look at his screen, and he can scan at the same time. So you say, okay, good idea. What does that mean in reality? So we actually said this ourselves. We all said, okay. So we said, right, we're going to try it. And we put it into our Heerenveen depot, where all our products are shipped out of. And we did a trial. We had some people using old MC92 standard gun devices. And we had people using the TC8000. And the actual stats that we found from it was that people were 14% more efficient using this gun over the old one. We didn't change the software. We had the green screen still on here. It was exactly the same. We didn't change the people. We just gave them a different device. And they picked 14% more just by having a different device and using it in a different way. So those are some of the advantages we can do by just changing either the ergonomics of what you're doing, but then also from a software perspective. Pietro mentioned converting a green screen to an all-touch. What do we really mean by that? We mean that you take your green screen and rather than have a screen that just has, F2, F1, all the way down and you pick, now it has a full button. So it may say, go pick, and he pushes it. So no need for him to remember he needs to push F2, F6, F5, F1. He actually sees it on the screen, and he can push it like a standard Android application today. And actually that means you don't have to change anything on your back-end system. The device and the intelligence in the device does it all for you. So you get the improved productivity. I talked around training. That's a classic example. If a person can just go and pick a device up, he can push his finger on a screen and move forward. He speeds up his whole integration and his whole movement on that one. So we also added an extended range imager. So the person can fire and scan as far as he can see, basically. As long as your barcode's big enough, we're pretty guaranteed we can scan it. But also, what else have we done in the warehouse? So in the middle here, I don't have one on my desk here, but I'm sure we've got one knocking around. The wearable device. So the wearable has been around a long, long time, and it always makes me smile when I watch these new tech blogs and gadget shows and everything, and people are talking about wearable technology, and I see people with the glasses on and the headsets, and people are there doing virtual reality. Well, Symbol, Zebra, Motorola, whichever entity you want to think of us from in those days, we actually were the first people to invent the wearable. We've got wearables in thousands and thousands of locations. People have them on the wrist, and we use them for picking. So this device is the newer Android version. So this is a device that sits on your wrist that the user can use to pick, has a scanner on his finger, and allows him to scan as he's moving. But also, he could have it on his side. So maybe today the user doesn't want to interact with the device, and he may have a headset, and he can use a headset to do voice picking. So we're working with Google again on how you can use the Google Assistant. Does you know what the Google Assistant is? Where you go, okay, Google, tell me what the temperature is in Budapest, okay? And it goes, oh, hi, Mark, it's 26 degrees. Oh, okay. So we're using that to say, could you use that to do voice picking? So could you say, hi, Google, what's my next pick? And it says, hi, Mark, go to row 6, aisle 2, and pick 17 shirts. So again, we're taking the Android technology and moving it forward with the times to improve these features. So voice picking again. If that's something you want to look at, we have a whole suite of solutions that we can do. And finally, the tablet. The tablet has been a really interesting market for us. Clearly, there's two different ends. There's a really robust tablet. So I'm sure you've probably all seen a Panasonic Toughbook, a CF21 or around there that's like a really, really tough, indestructible World War II type tablet that you know, I think you could throw it out of a plane from 30,000 feet and it would probably survive. And then you have the total opposite. You can go and buy a €100 tablet that you probably drop from a pocket and it'll smash. So you have the two extremes. So we said, okay, actually, what do our customers want? They want something in between. They want something that, yeah, okay, if it drops out the pocket, it survives. But also something that they can make usable across multiple use cases. So we released the tablet, but we've also released it with a set of accessories to make it useful in scenarios whereby the other tablets might not fit. So, for instance, here, this forklift truck. So this is an Android tablet, okay, that the user can take out of his truck and walk around with, right, if he wants to. But then he can dock it in his truck. So it's fixed into his truck, and he can do the same use case in his truck. And then we pair it with a scanner, so the guy can drive his forklift truck around the warehouse. He can interact with his tablet as he would do if he was walking. And then he can scan a barcode on a pallet to wherever he's going. So he's still in his truck, because again, we know when someone gets out of a forklift truck and then goes and scans something, he then gets back in his truck, that whole productivity piece gets removed. But then he also wants to be able to get out of his truck and maybe look at some detailed information with his tablet as he's going. So again, best of both worlds. We're trying to create product and solutions to fit there. So going back right to the start where I went through those 3 different kind of use cases, and you can see by the way that we're collating things together, we understand that within an environment there's multiple things. So if I think of retail and healthcare, we have a whole range of devices now that can fit, from a personal shopper through to a TC51, 70, the tablet, and even an MC3200 for a front of or back of store that's going Android. And keep your eyes out very shortly for a new and improved version of that. We're working on that at the moment. So if the MC32 you have today, and you think that's the type of device you want to move forward with us, while we're here today, please come and see us, because we're looking for voice of the field on that one. Okay. But then we look at the reasons why you would take it. So, of course, you can put a consumer device into the front of a retail store. We know that. And we have lots of use cases. One of my favorites, actually, is from the US, who installed iPads. They installed iPads in every single store they had in the country. So 40,000 iPads. And we said, okay, we'll work with you on your warehouse and everything, and you put in the iPads. We'll come and see you in 12 months' time and see how it did. It actually took them 3 months to ring us, because the iPads had been stolen, they'd smashed, and they'd gone end of life. And if you all remember when they changed the lightning pin from the big long one to the small one, all their accessories were gone. So that's one of my favorite. We call them an Apple turnover, where we go in and help the customer fix their Apple devices. So clearly you can put in solutions, but we believe that if you put in one of our products, we'll support it for longer. We'll support you fully from the operational, and we believe it is best in class. Again, I think we've talked about the tablet, the fact it fits that gap. And then also, we've got these solutions such as Workforce Connect for voice, for comms. So what do we necessarily mean by comms and voice? So what we mean is that you can have a user that's in the shop floor that maybe needs to be able to talk to the person in the back of store. Maybe they have a different device. So maybe in the front of store they have, let's make an example. Maybe they have one of these in the front of store, right? And then in the back of store, you have a guy with something like this, a bit more robust. They're both on the wireless, but you want to be able them to talk to each other. Hence where the software comes in to allow voice communication from the front of store to the back of store. The most classic example we do for that is a shoe shop. So a shoe shop, I walk in, I say, "Hi, have you got a pair of size 8 shoes?" They go, "Oh, okay." Typically, what do they do today? That person goes and walks to the back of the shop, they go search their back of store, and then they come back and go, "No, sorry, we've got none." So we're working with customers like that to do 2 options. Either they have a device that's in the front of store that they go, "Okay, I'll have a look now. Oh yeah, there's one there." And then they ring Joe in the back of the shop and they say, "Joe, can you get this pair of size 8 shoes that's on, X, Y, and Z and bring it to the front?" "Yep, I'll be there." So again, that whole customer experience is improved. Their performance in the store is improved. But also, if you're a manager, you might not have one of these devices. You might be a manager with your iPad, or you might be a manager with your mobile phone. We understand that. And we also allow the communication to go to the manager. So the manager can have an iPhone, and he can talk to all the users on the shop floor with the Zebra device. You can talk to the users in the back of store. Or maybe you have security guards have walkie-talkies. We can also connect to the walkie-talkies because we understand that one solution doesn't fit everybody. So we want to go across that whole workforce. So that's what we're trying to do with the voice solution. So if voice and that is interest, again, come speak to us because I'd love to show you the power of adding voice into your operation. So field mobility, and what I mean by that is guys that are on the road delivering parcels, maybe fixing boilers, maybe doing your window cleaning, anything along those, people that are moving. So again, we have a whole range of devices. We have what we call our good, better, best model. Okay, so good is okay, it'll do the job. It's probably the cheapest, right? Will it last you the full length of time, and will it move forward with all the products and all the solutions and always have all the value adds? No. With our value tier product, we're not going to add all of our mobility DNA features that need maybe the better camera or the better scanner, because we need that hardware in order to do it. And then we have a better and the best, and I think we've seen those. So we're investing in there, and you will see we will have a refresh of our good product later in the year, which will come with Android on that one as well. And then the field mobility solutions from a software perspective. So we talked around SimulScan earlier with scanning multiple barcodes. And again, we trialed that in our own facility. If anyone's ever bought a Zebra product and got a box, you'll probably see there's about 10 different barcodes on the side of a box. And if you've ever, I'm looking at Zoltan, if he's ever scanned them in for inventory into a warehouse, it's a bit of a nightmare scanning all these different individual barcodes with an IMEI number, a MAC address, a country of origin. And we were sat there and we said, can we improve this process? So we developed a solution to be able to scan the whole box. So it scanned all 8 barcodes at once and put it straight into the inventory. And again, we did that in our own facility, and we saw the increase in productivity just by 1 scan rather than 8. So SimulScan allows you to do that. And then if you ever do things such as capturing ID, so if you ever have to collect an ID card or a passport or any form of documentation, we have an OCR engine to allow you to scan it. We'll decode it, and we'll put that into your application so you can collect it all up. So whether it's a way bill or whether it's an order form or something like that, we can collect that and move it forward. And from a set of solutions, we're also looking at things such as ticketing and other solutions that could be interesting from a field mobility perspective. Oh, I hit the wrong button then. The warehouse, we've talked around a lot. Vehicle computers in the middle here. So I talked about a tablet within a forklift truck. You can see here we also have some dedicated terminals, a bit more robust. The VC80 here, running Android. So if you wanted a full ruggedized solution that fit in, we can do one of those as well. But you can see the majority of our warehouse today is still Windows Mobile. But we have the 8000, which is by far the best invention that we've come. And if you look at the awards around that, it's super. If you're an MC92 user, I'd like to speak to you as well on that one to see what would be a next incarnation of that one. So really just to round off, from a Zebra and Zoltan asked us, what is our strategy for mobile computing from a Zebra perspective? I'm hoping you can see now that we are fully committed to Android, 1,000%. We have more engineers working on Android than we've ever had working on Windows Mobile. And you say, Mark, why is that? You've got the same number of engineers as you've always had. You've invested the same amount of money as you always have. Well, that's now because we actually can do. Before, we just got given the software and said, there you go, install it. Now they say, here's the code, do what you want with it. So we've taken that and we're investing in people, in resources, and the program that Pietro will walk you through later around security shows you the investment. We have 1,000 engineers across the world writing the software, writing the OS, creating the product, developing it, testing it. I could go on to make sure that it's right. We now have 17 product families on Android. By 2018, that'll be 20. In comparison to where we started in 2013 with 3, you can see where we're going from movement. Our target for this year is to ship 50% Android and 50% Windows Mobile. And then moving into 2017, 60-40, 70-30. By 2020, I would expect it to be probably around the 90 to 10% mark. Now, that doesn't mean we've stopped everything to do with Microsoft, okay? And even with Andy sat here, we've been open with them. We released a product this year with Windows 10 Enterprise on it. Sorry, we call it. If you ever heard the code name, we call it the Hulk. So it's a TC70 device. So it's inside the 4 walls, and we made that for one specific customer who said, "Zebra, we want a Windows 10 device." Okay, and we said, "Okay." They were big enough for us to go, yes, okay. We made it, they tested it, they said, no, we don't want it. They said, we want the TC70, we love the device, but we want Android. Okay. So we made a product for a large customer, and they said no. And today, I cover the whole of this region. I don't know of a single device that's been deployed, okay? Just to give you an idea. So we have a product. If you wanted to do Windows 10 development, I wouldn't stand here and recommend it, but I'll say we have a product to do it. Okay. From a tablet perspective, we have a Windows 10. I call it Big Windows. So standard. You can go to the local electronics shop and buy a laptop with Windows 10 on it. The ET50, we have a version running Windows. Again, perfect for if you're running a business application and you want to use a tablet to do, you might want to do your Word or your Office and you have a web app and you're running it. So we have a tablet running Windows 10, okay? And the tablet strategy will be, we will keep creating Android and Windows on the tablet. We see people want the tablet with Windows on it, and we're going. From a handheld perspective, unless we have a huge customer, we will not invest money into Windows 10. All our investment goes directly into Android. And we can see by the percentage of what is in the marketplace. And when Windows 10 goes end of life, we'll see. But our investment is fully behind Android. We're lucky that with the team, we can put in features and solutions into the latest operating system. You can see the products are we're well supported. Any of your existing infrastructure, we can work with. If that's Exchange, if that's Office 365, even SAP, Oracle, whatever you've got, we can work and find a solution to get it. I've not had a customer today who said, we've got this and we can't get it working. So let us know what it is. And yeah, we want to help and accelerate and improve your use case.